let's get into the next session. Now, the next session is with Dinara, who is the client, and Adil is the therapist or the coach. So what you're going to see in contrast to any of the previous sessions that we've sort of broke down in this manner, it's a totally different trance. Now, what you'll see is Dinara is definitely the way that she does trance, and that's really what you want to remember, guys. Everybody does trance differently. There's no such thing as an identical trance, so you shouldn't be looking for it anyway. But the way, in this case, anyway, Dinara does trance. She does close her eyes. She goes in quite deep. There's a lot of processing. So you're going to see a stark contrast to maybe what you've seen before. And this is really a great learning lesson to realize that no client will ever go into trance the same. You shouldn't be trying to get them into trance the same way every time, because now you're trying to create something. You're trying to do something with those trances instead of allowing the client to do trance any way that's possible for them. So let's get into this and let's see what Dinara's problem is, and let's resolve this.
Yeah. Guys, all right, so cameras off, microphones off. We're going to do the same
again,
exercise.
no preparation, no scripting.
More principles.
There's nothing we can prepare right now. All we can say is, get a client and a therapist and figure out where to go from there.
Videos. Perfect. All right. So, Dinara, I'm going to pin you. Spotlight for everybody. There we go.
Okay, so
all we're going to do, same thing. We're going to ask Dinara about her problem, and then I'll just coach you through. And again, I apologize, guys. It's awkward when I jump in, but it's the only way I can teach these principles, because this stuff needs to be caught, not taught. Because if I tell you guys about it, it won't make sense. I want to be able to pause and say, Adil, look at that. Did you see that? It's a better way to learn that way. Okay, so I'm going to shut up as best as I can. Go for it, guys. Have some fun.
Hi, Dinara. So what brings you here today?
Adil. So to be fair, I kind of know the problem, but I kind of don't know the problem. So
as you can see already, we're starting in the same place. What's the problem? Now, what's funny is even if a client, let's say, for example, books in and says, Scott, I want to quit smoking, or I want to lose weight, or have anxiety, remember, that's their symptom. Regardless of what I know on the strategy call, or by the time a client books in and pays, I start off every single session the same way. What's the problem? And look, if a client turns around and says, well, you know what my problem is, I want to quit smoking, I'd say, okay, let's start there. Tell me more about that. I always start in that place, because I never want to get caught. And this can happen when a client, first books the session with you, I want to quit smoking, I want to do this or that. Then they come into the session and say, hey, I've got something else I want to work on. Can we do that instead? Now, again, it's all related, still a symptom, but always start in the same place. I never, ever, 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 and do not recommend you do this either, I never start by making any assumptions about what my client's going to say, what their problem is, what their conclusion is, where it's going to head, what it's going to look like when they're going to trance. I can't prepare any of that stuff, because how could you? Like, the mind is such a profound thing, and every client is different. Trying to prepare a script, or downloading a script, or reading from a piece of paper, or trying to prepare a strategy beforehand and thinking, okay, if they say this, I'm going to say that. It's pointless, because you don't know until you ask your client. And this investigation phase, just like the last sessions you've seen, or sort of any footage you've seen where I've done sort of a demo of this, it all starts in the same place. What's the problem? And from there, I figure out what to do using the principles of spotting unconscious moments, slowing down, repetition, finding the conclusion, untying the knots, all the things that are related to conversational hypnosis in this premise. That's what I'm doing. I'm always starting in the same place. So let's see where this goes.
So I guess, so it's quite similar to Brian's, really, because I kind of feel a little bit blocked when it comes to.
So this is all conscious fluff.
It started quite well.
This is just her conclusion.
I'm quite new, so I've only done the RTT a year ago or so.
So that's a conclusion.
So it started quite well, with Scott's course, and then I've made some money, and then I'm like, all right then. So I know I can do that now.
So the reason I should bring this up now, the reason I know it's conclusion and conscious fluff is because see how fast she's talking? It's not really taking her a lot of time to find this information to give me, or to give the therapist, Adil in this case. So when your client is just talking normal speed, normal consciousness, rambling and venting, That's usually all conscious fluff, and you can pretty much ignore 95% of that stuff. You still want to be on the hunt for the unconscious moments, like where's the blinking happening, when do they slow down? In this case, it's going to happen very, very soon. Dinara hits a big unconscious moment, and it's absolutely brilliant. And it's just by asking one question, and do ask a great question, and it will stump her. And then we'll actually find out what the real problem is very, very quickly.
I'm gonna rest now for a little bit, and then it kind of, I can't restart again. Well, like, one thing is that I think I'm not really sure I enjoy talking about my niche.
So that's another conclusion.
That much.
Okay. And what's your niche exactly?
So my niche is procrastination. So now I'm procrastinating on like.
So this is a pretty cool thing. It's pretty common as well. And we don't have to really draw too much into it. You don't have to make a big deal about it. It's funny when a client says, you know, I want to work with procrastination, but I'm doing that as well. So it is a bit of a conscious to unconscious conflict. But because there's not a lot of pausing and eye blinking unconscious moments that follow it, we know it's pretty much just, it's got nothing to do with the core of the problem. But it's still a good thing to see in your clients, especially in the business perspective, when a therapist, you know, wants to work with a specific niche in this case, but she's also doing the same thing as the niche itself. Now, if this was more of an unconscious thing, I would pay more attention to it. But it's just funny to bring this up now. These are sometimes the conclusions we'll get caught in as well. But you'll see it's more lighthearted, it's more upbeat, so it's not really trance. It's not affecting the trance at all. So we can pretty much ignore it.
Yeah. So I think I don't really enjoy talking about that much anymore. And I don't really know what I would enjoy talking about, like relationships perhaps.
So more conclusions.
I'm single, so kind of feels a little bit off.
There's another one.
Doing relationships.
All tied into knots and conclusions, but it's not the real problem.
Sure. So let me ask you. Let me interject here. When you did your niche, what were the results like?
So first couple of results.
Enter to Bluetooth.
So we had a small interruption with that session.
Happening. First couple of results were quite good, and then I have a couple more clients that are like seem to be going for ages.
So more conclusions. That's not the problem.
So
it's just overthinking everything.
Yeah, I think because I don't know. I kind of RTT is so long, man.
Again,
I'm
another
not enjoying
conclusion.
it anymore.
That's got nothing to do with
Maybe
it.
that's why.
So tell me something. Imagine that those latter clients that you said were just taking too long. What if they did not take too long? And what if you did see? What if you continued seeing instant results? How do you think you would feel about this niche? I can't hear you.
Pause right there. Yeah.
And so something interesting is happening, and I actually bring this up as a training example with a deal. And this is a good mindset to have when asking questions about the problem. You never want to conclude how a client will feel if they fix the problem. So an example here, there's nothing wrong with the question itself. It'll still get us to the same place, but there's a better questioning example we can use for, instead of trying to find out, okay, Dinara, if you could feel good about the last clients you saw and they all had results like that, what would that be like? We don't want to be future pacing or anything like that, because now I'm asking Dinara, hey, what's it going to be like if you feel awesome about your clients always having results? She'll probably say, well, it feel great. But that really doesn't get us to anywhere else. It doesn't get us any closer to what the real problem is, because this is still all conscious fluff. We still don't know what the problem is. And now we're trying to future pace just a positive feeling. I understand a deal being a coach as well, and I hear this a lot as well. It's that question of what will it be like if you X, Y, and Z. So instead of trying to find out what life's going to be like by just expanding this positive feeling across your entire life, what we should be doing is going back into the problem and figuring out, why is Dinara caught here? And you want to have a mindset of curiosity. Why is she caught here? What's the real problem? Why is she so locked into this? Why does this problem exist? Instead of figuring out a way to solve it, which is like a future pace type thing, how would it be like if everything was great? How would you feel then? Can you remember a time when you felt really good? What's that like now? they're all questions asking the client to solve the problem. We're not doing that, okay? What we want to do is figure out why are they caught here? What am I curious about? Based on what they've said to me, what am I curious about? And you'll hear that curiosity statement come out a lot, but it gives us a better platform to figure out how to solve the problem actually without solving the problem. And it gives us more of those unconscious moments.
Yeah, sorry, I had myself on mute. So it's a good question, but now we're asking for an outcome. So whenever we use, and again, I'm going to be really picky with this. It's day one, why not? Whenever we use words like imagine what it will be like, now I'm saying, give me an outcome, give me a result.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So she threw a lot at you. There's a lot of knots that we've got to untie. It's quite interesting how the very first thing she said was, I already know what the problem is, but I don't think I do. That's the very first thing she said.
True.
So we could go there. Then a couple of things later came out where it was I'm working procrastination, but now I'm procrastinating. There's another conflict there. There's 3 or 4 of them. Now your question's good. There's nothing wrong with it, but let's go to another level. If your client, and this for everybody, if your client just comes out again, and this interesting's happened a couple of times now, where he just overloads us with info, do the Colombo approach. Just look and go, hang on, sorry, it's been a long day. What's the problem?
So in this training example, I bring up a strategy. It's not a technique. It's just a principle or a strategy. I call it the Colombo approach. So sometimes when your client overloads us with so much consciousness and so much conflict and much information, it gets very, very hard to figure out, okay, what do I do with all of this? And I'm sure, guys, if you're watching this, you've probably experienced that a lot of times. Like your client just vents for 10 minutes and then they look at you and think, okay, fix that. And you think, oh my God, where do I start with all of this? So what I used to do, because I used to sort of lose track a little bit, especially when I first started, it's not, I don't have to worry about it anymore, is just say to a client, hang on, okay, so just sort of, you give me a lot of information there. I'm still sort of lost on a few things. Like, what's the problem? And get really inquisitive with your question. And it's an indirect way for me to say to the client, hey, just forget all the fluff. Just tell me what's really going on. And they will summarize all of that 10 minutes of venting into maybe a sentence. Okay, so it's called the Colombo approach. You act, the old TV show Colombo, he was a babbling idiot, but he was really, really smart. He used to do that a lot. So you can do it here. If a client vents too much, just say, hang on, I just got to pause you there. I'm sort of a little bit slow today. It's been a long day. Like, what's the problem? And sort of lean in, get inquisitive, and they will summarize all the fluff they've given you and hopefully give us some more quality information, or just summarize all the 1,000 words that they've said. They summarize it into just a nice little package. So it's a good way to get through the information after a client has vented on you.
I'm not quite understanding. And they'll summarize it for us. And in summary, they'll probably give us a better example that'll be full of unconscious moments.
Okay.
Just as an example.
All right. So Dinar, what you said earlier, that you think you know what the problem is, but then you think you don't. So let's unpack that. Let's start with, what do you think the problem is?
So the problem is that I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to be doing to be growing and developing my business.
And there we have it. Now, again, it's still actually not the core problem, but we're getting closer. So all that summary of it's taking too long here, I don't know what the problem is, but I think I do, whatever she said at the start. I'm procrastinating. I don't want to work on that niche. I might do relationship niche. That was all just fluff. Now, what she's given us is still not there yet, but you see a different quality of information that come out. There was some pausing. There was some thinking. It was a good summary. It's getting us closer to something. And it's going to be a massive contrast when you see when she actually hits the problem. You'll notice that it'll be like a punch in the face for you guys. There'll be a pure unconscious moment where Dinara is just stumped. Her face glazes over and she literally can't think anymore. That's what we're going for. But you'll see that happen very soon.
That's the problem, I think.
Okay. And why do you think that's also not the problem?
So you see how she's slowing down already? Something's happening.
Well, as we therapists, we always overthink and try to look for like.
So this is a conclusion again.
And then so I think I've been overthinking a little bit as well, and I've been a little bit afraid because recently,
and I want to pause there. and I actually bring this up during the training. She said the word afraid, and you guys will be able to backtrack this on the video. And the way she said it, she sort of looked away. The tone was different. It was very, very quick. It's an unconscious moment. This becomes, the word afraid actually becomes the catalyst for trance in about a minute or so. And I actually bring this up for a deal to Spot, and we find out what this afraid things means. Like, this is actually becoming the root cause problem, so to speak.
2 years, I guess.
You'll hear her say afraid again, just watch
Kind
the
of
quality.
Go for something and then I lose interest. Go for something, I lose interest. So I'm a bit afraid I'm going to lose interest.
And there it is again. Now, it's interesting. She's already brought up afraid twice now, and you can see it in the way she says it. It's very quick. Sometimes the unconscious mind reveals information to us. It's very, very quick. Okay, and I actually pause the session and bring this out.
Again.
Okay,
So
because this has
maybe
happened in the past.
Pause
We
right
don't
there.
know. Okay.
Good up. I'm going to bring this up. You'll be able to hear this, guys, if you go back and watch this. Interesting, it came up twice. The very first time, and thank you for sharing it that way, said she was talking, but I was still a little bit afraid. Talk. That was just a...
So the unconscious moment, the afraid part, you can hear it in the tonality, is mixed in with conscious fluff. So it's like 100 conscious fluff words and one pure expression of the unconscious mind. And we'll exacerbate that, but I just want to point that out.
quick, unconscious thing. And I'm getting a smile because I know I got it. And then she said afraid again.
Now, what's interesting, look at Dinara right now. And I'm not even talking to her right now. I'm actually coaching Adil, but I'm using the actual unconscious word afraid. I don't know what that is yet, and we'll find out. But look at her. She's going into trance. Now, it becomes more obvious very soon, but you see how she's stuck, she's locked, she's not moving, she's sort of got a glazed look on her face. So it just shows you how fucking powerful these unconscious moments are, whether they're words or they're moments like a sigh or breathing or fluttering or processing, stuff like that. She's already gone somewhere by just repeating back the word that she used, which was the word afraid, but it was mixed in all that consciousness. But already we're getting somewhere.
That's what I'm curious. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the context of being afraid
See her,
is.
look at her.
We'd have to ask her. So
Zoning
the fact
out.
it came out
Trance.
twice, it'll be like her unconscious mind saying, okay, I gave you 2 clues.
With the breathing starting to go deeper.
I'm going to shut up. You're not going to hear from me again. All right?
Good point.
I'm going to force you to go down the afraid road because it come up twice.
Now watch what
I want her
happens.
to resolve this. But when you listen to the tape, you better hear it. So
I've told Adil to
pick
go
up
down
on
the
that any way
afraid
you
road.
can.
Watch what
Let's
happens.
question her about that
Sure.
because there's definitely something there.
So Dinar, you mentioned being afraid twice, right? And I want to understand, what is it that you may be afraid of?
And watch this.
Um,
And there we
you
have it.
her. Your
I don't even know.
unconscious moment.
And that's what we're going for. Okay. So what we found out here is we've just essentially repeated back the unconscious mind's resource, which was being afraid, repeated it back to her, and it stumped her. Consciousness is no longer in the house. And by repeating back that unconscious moment to her, it's exacerbated the unconscious moment, which means that we've put her more into trance. So what do you think we're going to do? We're just going to repeat that word back, or the questioning, which was, what are you afraid of? It's such a simple question, but it is loaded with unconsciousness because it came from her unconscious mind. We could have started talking about the niche thing, therapy taking too long, but we would have missed the point. And by grabbing that unconscious moment and saying, okay, you said the word afraid. What are you afraid of? Bang, got her. And this is going to be the gateway into trance. And she's going to untie all those knots and figure all this stuff out and come up with something new. Now watch what happens.
Good
The
job.
spontaneous laughter, that's
So when you catch
unconscious
a client
moments.
like this, I want you to repeat exactly what you said with less words this time.
Okay. Let me attempt that. What are you afraid of?
So I repeated it.
Because that word I heard twice. What are you afraid of?
And watch the unconscious stuff come out.
It's all right.
Blinking, slowing down.
I don't know. Maybe what if I end up changing my career and not liking it.
And that's the real problem. And you guys have to go back. I just want you to absorb that. Go back and watch just that part there, and you'll see the way she's talking. There's a tone. It's a better quality of information. She's slowed down. Whereas before, when she was talking, she's quite animated, which is great. But look how slow it all is now. And it's full of meaning for her. What if I change my career and I don't like it again? That's what we have to fix, guys. Now, it has links to the niche and the new business, her therapy taking too long, maybe, but this is what we're after. Now, ask yourself this. How could you prepare for that? You didn't know that information until you asked the client, until we asked that client. So you can't prepare for this. You can't script this. You can't put this into a technique because those things don't exist in this place, in this type of therapeutic intervention. But by using simple questions like what, who, why, when, how, and investigating the problem or the symptom to find out what the real problem is, you get to a place like this. And what it's essentially doing is giving us the real unconscious root cause and stopping consciousness, which is all that fluff before, stopping consciousness from interfering. And we're going to continue down this road. We're essentially going to put Dinara into trance. Listen to this. We're going to put Dinara into trance by talking about her problem. See how easy that is, guys? We're not trying to figure out how to solve it. She's about to solve it for herself. And very soon, watch how deep her trance goes. Now, depth has nothing to do with it. Eye closure has nothing to do with it. You don't need those things in order to have a trance. But in Dinara's case, she actually goes that way. And you actually hear me take over and I'll put her in that place. And then you'll hear how we do the therapy as well. But again, a very different trance, a different type of trance than maybe what you guys have seen before with this type of video.
Again.
There we have the real problem. Getting closer anyway.
Now look at Dinara.
All the other stuff, RTT is too long.
See, she slowed down.
Yeah. But did you see the quality of information? See the
breathing shallower,
tone, the physical of the emotions of it.
She's caught in it.
That's what we're looking for. And you asked a question: what are you afraid of? That's the question you should ask that no one else wants to ask.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
So I apologize jumping in, but that's pure gold.
Thank you.
Right there. No, you did. Good job. Now, were you trying to do anything? No, you're just investigating the problem. Had you gone for the take this and what does that look like in the future, you wouldn't have got to here.
Sure, that's right. Yeah.
Makes sense?
So, okay, so can I, so when she said that, right, is it okay if I use like terms like comfort zone, right? So basically when what I'm getting, what I'm deducing, not even that.
No. Turn your brain off. I'm just going to ask her.
So what I've coached Adil on there, this is very common. We sometimes as therapists and coaches go into strategy, I want to fix it mode. And we start trying to ask clients questions based on a technique or a strategy that we know, or, the 10 best questions to ask your clients type thing. Like those things don't exist. They're just techniques that are hit and miss. So we don't want to reinterpret our client's problem. We don't want to reinterpret the words. We don't want to add anything to this stuff. What I'm teaching Adil to do is instead of trying to think about what to do, just use the words and only the words and the context of the problem to allow Dinara to solve her problem. You don't have to add anything to this. I don't have to go into some long-winded story or ask for metaphor. I don't have to do any of that stuff. I'm just going to use, called the Utilization Tool. It's part of therapy. It's a big Ericksonian trick. To use whatever your clients give you. Instead of trying to create something with the words you use, just use what your client gives you and feed it back to them. Because if your client's giving you an unconscious moment, give it back to them. Then they'll give it back to you. And it's just a reflexive cycle. And before long, they're going to be so tranced out, they won't know what is up, what is down, what is left or is right. And it will stop the conscious mind from interfering. And then trance can do what it does best, which is solve the problem. I mean, when you think about it, everyone believes that techniques solve problems. The timeline, blew that phobia out, or, that regression blew out the abundance box, whatever it is, whatever the technique is. But that's not the case. If you look at any strategy, any technique, any theory, what's the common thing that links all of these hypnotic techniques together or therapeutic techniques together? It's trance. So the way that I see it is trance does the healing. So why don't I just get them there? Then I don't have to do anything. I don't rely on techniques to blow out the phobia. I rely on the trance to blow out the phobia. Okay, and you'll actually see an example of this in this context anyway. So we'll keep going, but that's sort of where we are.
Because you hear it in the quality when she first said, I'm afraid, she's still zoning out. She's still there. And I would just say to my client, what are you afraid of?
And still look at her. She doesn't move much. She's cataleptic. She's thinking, it's processing. And we're not even talking
ask
to her.
A question, and she's doing something now with it, you can see her processing it. If I ask a question that creates an unconscious moment, I'm going to just ask this question again, because it was that question that caused the moment.
See, it's happening.
So I don't have to think. I'm just going to repeat it.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
There's processing. And you and me, I've been talking to, and there's processing going on. You see the level of depth in that question compared to, well, if you don't like your business, list out 10 of your favorite things you want to do in your life. What are you most passionate about? Now we've lost her completely. That's conscious.
Sure.
This is hard line for the problem. So being that I've interrupted you, the best way to get her back is to ask her what's happening, and let's see what she says.
So as you told me right now that you're afraid that if you change careers, it might not go well. As you're telling me this, what's the feeling you're feeling right now? It's okay. You could repeat that again, that sentence again. Sorry?
I think it's a bit funny.
What's funny?
Because it's really not, it's not true, is it? Because I did like my
conscious interpretation.
Years, so I might enjoy this one for the first 10 years as well. I don't really know, but I just I feel like I'm stuck in the last few years when I started not liking it anymore. And now obviously I found
this was just conscious fluff.
The new
the trance is sort of escape. That's fine. We bring her back.
I don't want it to just be my shiny object for the day and then move on to something else. Because I don't know.
Still a little bit there, but.
And in the last few years, you mentioned earlier that a lot of clients were taking too much time. Is there any other reason besides just that your clients were taking too much time in delivering and in getting results?
So in this case, still the right questions, but Adil being that he's still learning, and the therapists and coaches we teach will go through this, we've sort of missed the opportunity where the trance was, and we're starting to veer away from it. But that's just what happens. These people are learning how to do this properly. And sometimes our questions, guys, can actually take us away from trance instead of focusing on it. And that's just what happened here. But the fun thing is even if you veer away from it, we can still come back to it. And that's exactly what we do. All roads lead to Rome. So even if you ask a bad question, eventually we get to the right place. It just might take a little bit longer. Okay. And it's an instinctual thing. Okay. Over time of doing this so many times and doing therapy in this way, you sort of know what questions to ask before you know when to ask them. It's sort of an instinct. Your unconscious mind starts to do a lot of this stuff for you, and you just get better with the questions. And the better the quality of the questions, the shorter the sessions become.
I'm not sure that that's the issue, really.
Okay.
I don't really know.
We bring her back very soon. We've sort of gone off track a bit, but that's fine.
I can see some results, I guess, because maybe the clients expect to be a big boom after a couple of sessions.
So this is just a conclusion.
Like from procrastinating to building mountains and moving mountains and building buildings in a day. Sometimes we do expect that, but I do see there's definitely some progress.
Mm-hmm.
That's just all conscious fluff. Don't pay attention to any of that stuff.
I'm definitely out of it, I can say.
That's a clear example.
You're definitely out of the what? Can you repeat what you just said?
It was conscious fluff, yeah. Agree.
So let's pull it back. Where she was, there was something to do with her career there.
Yeah.
As I said you can see the unconscious moments again. So I'm going to task you. I don't want you to, and again, this is for everybody. I don't want you to think at all. Don't think about what to ask. I just want you to pay attention to what she says really, really closely. It's going to help you a lot.
And again, guys, this is why you have to pay attention to your clients. When you're too busy reading a script, too busy trying to think of a technique, you're sort of zoned out in your own head thinking, okay, when should I start the timeline or something like that? You'll miss the very opportunity for a client to solve their own problem extremely quickly. Okay? So you've got to pay attention to your clients, not only visually on the unconscious moments, but also verbally. You'll be able to hear the tone and the quality of the information.
Okay? So where the unconscious moments were happening was definitely around something to do with career. So if you're unsure, I would just start and say, you were saying something about your career before. What did you mean by that?
Yeah.
Just start there, see what happens.
Yeah. Literally, that's what I'm going to ask you. You mentioned something about your career. Do you want to expand on that?
So that's where the unconscious moment was. We bring her back to that.
So
you can see it happening again.
My initial career wasn't really something that I have actually chosen.
See how she's zoning out,
that was
slowing down.
I kind of fell into.
And now we've got the information that's come out is very, very special. So we've got Dinara saying, I didn't choose my career. I sort of was, I think she says I was forced into it. So there's something there. We're going to actually piece, we're going to unpiece this apart and figure out where the puzzle is and put it all back together. But we're getting close. And again, I just want you guys to pay attention to her, not just the words, but look at her. And you'll notice a lot of unconscious stuff starting to happen.
And what was that?
So it's like I wanted to go to the university and I just picked a few professions and my dad went, oh, civil engineering, how about that? I'm like, I don't know what that means, but yeah, why not? And I got in. And I was like,
sure.
Conscious conclusion. The trance is still there.
Me,
the conscious mind is still trying to come back in.
I'm like, civil engineering. And I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, I don't know. So
yeah,
that was funny, I guess. But I did enjoy the first few years. But I think because it was new and I was learning a lot.
So something interesting has just come out. I'm going to start, and you'll hear me talk about this on the training, and it's funny, I can still pick it up now. Something about being new. This is all related to the initial fear thing, the afraid thing we're talking about. Afraid, it's new, so I'm afraid. So although these unconscious moments are almost spread very far apart, we're starting to see the massive conflict. The afraid, the new, it's new, and I'm afraid because it's new. You actually hear us bring these conclusions up together. It's the conscious and unconscious conflict, push them together, and bang, she'll go into trance. You'll see it happen very soon.
And yeah, it was new and I was learning a lot.
There's the new word again.
So something new for you.
Watch this.
Sorry.
Yeah.
See how she's zoned out?
Yeah.
There it is. All from the word new.
There with the new thing.
Yeah.
Look
what
at
are you curious about that? Look at it.
Yeah.
What are you curious
so
about?
Look at that one. Look at that. What that one word did. It's really an unconscious phrase. By bringing up, it's something new. It's like a punch in the face for her because it was unconscious. It slipped out of her mind unconsciously and came out in conscious words. She didn't hear it because she's still trying to figure out what's going on. And by giving her back that own unconscious moment and that phrase, it's now like a punch in the face. Like, it doesn't get any easier than this, guys, to create trance in people, to have people go into trance by using their own words and their own unconscious moments. But again, it's finding these things that are mixed in amongst all the other consciousness that's going on. And look what happened. It got her. So watch what we do with this.
No. So initially you liked it, civil engineering. First of all, you had no idea, like you said, what it is all about, but you got in suddenly. And then it was all new for you, so therefore you enjoyed it.
And look at her.
Do you see any pattern there?
Nope, not that question.
Okay.
So what I've done there very, very quickly, and to ask a good question, he's basically asking Dinara, do you see what the real problem is? Like, you've done this before and you've done this before again, or you've done this again. Do you see why, or do you understand why you keep repeating the same pattern? Now, there's nothing wrong with that question in maybe a normal conversation, But in the context of therapy, now you're asking Dinara to figure out her own problem. You're basically saying, fix your problem. And I've said to Adil, no, not that question. We're not fixing it. We're investigating it, not fixing it. So that's where we are.
I was thinking about it. I'm like, I'm not sure. Okay.
We can do that in the testing phase, but I don't want her to solve it. Just the fact you said the word new, and you have to watch this back. You said the word new just before, and she zoned right out just with that word. There is something there.
Yeah.
There is something there between the old career that was new. And I have to resist saying this in a way where it's going to break it because I want you to break it. There was something so new about the old career that was exciting, where the excitement has bled into the new career here.
Yeah.
What's happening with this? There's a relationship there. What are you
relationship? So I'm curious to know about, is there something with you doing something new that, yes, Scott?
Pause. Look at her.
Yeah.
So I've actually stopped. It's quite interesting. I actually stopped Adil from talking because he said a great thing. He said a great statement. He said, I wonder what something, and I have to rephrase, I wonder what something, or what is this something that's new? Something along those lines. And you can't actually see it because I've got Dinara on Spotlight, so we can't see her, but you actually see me in the camera because I'm sort of talking to Adil at the same time, and I'm doing this with my hand to Adil to say, stop, don't talk. What you said, half the sentence you said, it was brilliant. Don't talk anymore, because it got her. So all I basically said to Adil is 95% of the words you're about to say don't need to be said. Just ask her, what is this new thing? Because that's all that needs to happen. And this becomes a suggestion for trance. Now, what's so interesting about this, guys, where's the word relax? Where's the word go to sleep? Where's the word close your eyes? Calmness, breathing. Where is all of that? We don't need it because that's the traditional training wheels. But by taking a pure unconscious moment, which is this new career, whatever she said, and we've fed that back to her, it's now hit her again with the trance because that's where it came from. Those words in that phrase are a symbol of the unconscious moment, the unconscious mind, the symbol for the trance. We've just fed it back to her. And I said to Adil, hey, stop talking. You're going to oversell this. Just ask her that. What has this thing got to do with new, or whatever he said? And it got her. So keep watching what happens.
Yeah.
You got her with it. Your question didn't even make sense, and you got her.
Sorry. But yes, so
you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I want you to pay attention to her, not you.
Yeah.
You're busy looking inside for the question. You've got a wonderful unconscious client right here that can hardly even move while you're busy looking for a question. So I want you to.
So again, we fall into this pattern, folks, of trying to find the right question or the perfect question. I'll see like Facebook ads of this, and they say, download my 10 best questions you have to ask all your coaching clients to have the world's biggest breakthrough. That's garbage. There is no such thing. How can someone give you the 10 best questions when you don't even know what the problem is? That's basically saying all clients are the same. We can box them in the same place, and that's impossible. So my point with coaching a deal here is to say less but get more done. Okay, and instead of we sometimes go internal as the therapist trying to figure out, shit, what do I do next? You've got a client sitting in front of you. Ask your client, or just repeat back what they've given you if it's an unconscious moment, and that'll be the exact thing and the only thing they need to hear. It becomes the only thing you need to say beyond the other 99.5% of the words you want to say, which will ruin everything. And this is what I mean by doing less but achieving so much more with your clients.
Ask her what's happening now.
So as I repeated the word new to you.
Nope. Just ask her what's happening now.
Okay. What's happening now, Dinara?
And what's the trance?
You see that?
Now, what
something's happening.
By asking, we're getting close. So if you ever find yourself stuck on what to ask your clients or what to do next, ask your clients. And by asking a client who is clearly in trance, and you say, what's happening now? They're going to explain the trance. And this is an old Ericksonian trick. It's called a revivification. A revivification is basically saying, hey, you're in trance, I can see you. Explain to me what that feels like. And the very act of explaining it is going to quote unquote deepen the trance. So it's called a revivification, and you'll see that very clearly.
I don't know what.
I want you to repeat back what she just said just then.
Okay, something's happening and you don't know what. Can you
And
tell?
that goes.
No.
Look how she's caught.
She's doing something. Repeat exactly what you just said before.
And what's interesting, I don't know what she's fixing, and I don't have to know. She doesn't know, because how could she? It's unconscious. I don't know, she doesn't know, and that's the whole point. We put so much pressure on ourselves to try and figure out what is the root cause, what's the words, what is it really? And when we're so busy trying to find out what that is, to the extent that how could we really ever know that we actually got it? As long as she's found it unconsciously, that's all that matters. I don't have to know what she's fixing, how she's doing it, what she's going to do. All I have to do is put her in a place where she will fix it without her annoying conscious mind butting in too much. Okay, so that's sort of where we are.
I should ask her to repeat what she said, or I just repeat what?
Once you repeat what you just said to her. Something's happening, but you're not sure.
Yeah. So something is happening, but you're not sure.
So just feeding it back to her.
Yeah.
And what is that something? If I were to ask you, what is that something that's happening? And where is it happening?
Yeah, less words.
So again, we fall back into always less words, guys. So just anytime you're asking a question, especially when they're tranced out, least amount of words. Okay.
You're doing good. No, let her. She already got the question. Let her answer.
Sure.
Look at her. She's out.
And there's the eyes.
Yeah.
And we're not doing anything.
Feel some sort of feeling going through my body.
And there we have the symbol for trance.
Repeat what she just said.
You're feeling something, a feeling going from your body.
No, through my body.
Watch your eyes. She's
Through your body. Okay.
It's weird. I don't really know.
Repeat it. Exactly what she said.
So you're feeling something going through your body, but you don't know what it is. You feel it, but you don't know.
Yeah.
It's getting closer.
Okay. Scott.
So Dee was asking me for help, but
right now she's doing therapy. She's doing it.
Sure.
And isn't this strange, guys? And what I say in that statement is 100% true. It's fact. Dinara is doing therapy right now. She's processing everything that's going on unconsciously. I mean, contrast her where she first started. It was a lot of talking, a lot of movement, stuff like that. This is therapy, guys. Please get it out of your mind that therapy is, walk down the beach, there's a symbol, you'll feel great. What does that symbol mean? Because that is created therapy. The therapist is trying to force the client to do it their way. What I would rather do is put a client into a place where I know they're going to solve the problem, which is unconscious, and let them figure it out for themselves, because that's what creates long-time therapy. How could I know how to tell her to solve her problem? I still don't even know what the problem is, and neither did Adil, neither did Dinara. But she's exactly in the place where she will solve her own problem. And I'll define what I mean by solving her own problem. She's going to come up with a resource to get her over a problem. It comes out at the end, okay? And what's funny is after we did the debrief for this session, about 20 minutes later, I asked her, how you doing? Because I saw her starting to zone out again. She said, you know what? This is what I'm going to do with my business now. And another resource came out. So she's so stuck in the problem, by putting her into trance, we've let go of that old thought loop. And by the time the trance is done, as you'll see it very soon, she'll come out with the perfect thing that she needs to change her entire life. And it is so simple. It's such a simple thing that she does. Again, you'll see it. But this is what I mean about this is the therapy, guys. This is her actually changing her life.
If we talk to her too much, we'll interrupt it. Look at her. So there is something to just pausing and just taking your time, letting them absorb it. There you go. Look at her.
Yeah.
And I have to point that out. Does everyone see what happened there? Did we tell her to close her eyes? I'm talking to Adil. But the reason she closed her eyes is because the unconscious mind decided to. That is the way that she does trance. It's like the unconscious mind says, oh, We're halfway there. Let's just go all the way there. And it pulled her into trance where she could no longer keep her eyes open. But what were we saying to her? Close your eyes, keep your eyes closed, only to the extent you can't open them again, all those suggestions that we give. And they've got their place as training wheels, but this is so much more relaxed. There's less work going on with the therapist and more work going on with the client. That's a brilliant example of when the unconscious mind wants to take a client into trance, resistance or not, the unconscious mind will win every time. That's a clear example. So watch what happens here and watch how we start to actually do more therapy.
Just close your eyes, yeah.
I didn't tell her to do that, neither did you. Now I'm going to take over because I want her to fix this, just to show you where we go with this.
Yes.
So I guess if you consider, there you go, all the new,
Some
this
using
new career, it doesn't matter if it's new or not, as long as you enjoy it.
So all I've said there is I've taken this idea of the new career, which was the main problem, and not knowing, will I enjoy the career? I'm pulling this back into trance, and I'm saying to the unconscious mind, hey, have these old problems back, but reconfigure them. And now I'm just putting a sort of positive spin on it. But here's the funny thing. I do it in this case because it's a training wheel. But in most cases, when I was with my lawyers, and if they did go into this sort of trance, I wouldn't say a word, because the trance is healing them. And I always run the risk of talking too much and disturbing my clients. So if you talk too much when your clients are in trance, guys, you will disturb all the wonderful things they do. It's like watching a movie with somebody and they keep talking. I guess what I'm doing now gets annoying after a while, but it's a training video. But if that someone sitting next to you keeps talking while you're watching the movie, you lose concentration. You can't figure out what's going on in the movie. Same thing here. So there's going to be times, guys, where you'll be absolutely quiet. I've sat with clients for a full half an hour not saying a word. And then they wake up, talk to me, and their whole life has changed. Because trance did that. Not the suggestions, not my words, not the script, none of that stuff. It's all happening inside your client's mind.
Longer than the last one. Because just like this is a new place to be.
Just using the feel again. You can see her face processing. See the eyes fluttering. You have to look close.
What an exciting journey. You may as well enjoy it in all new ways. There you go. All new ways.
Just repeating back her words. She's doing something.
I want you to take your time in this. Do not rush it. Slowing down. May as well enjoy the new. New things, that is. There you go. So all the old ways.
Breathing, the eye fluttering.
Of the old career. Moving into a new career. Only get better.
So just positive spin on everything.
There you go.
And you'll hear me, if you hear me say words like there you go or all the way, these are what are called process instructions. So when I see her like smile a bit or take a deep breath, I know that's more of an unconscious moment. It means something deep is happening. I'll enhance it by saying, that's it. There you go. This is old Ericksonian trick to exacerbate the unconscious moment with a process instruction, which says, hey, I saw that unconscious moment, do more of those. The more unconscious moments she has, guys, in this trance being the whole unconscious moment, but the breathing, the eye fluttering, the processing, the more of those she has, the bigger the breakthrough.
There you go. Taking your time. Right here. Do a thorough job.
I'm just telling you, do a good job. Fix this problem, but I'm not saying that because I can't.
Enjoy it, why don't you?
You'll see a lot of this session with her just sitting there. I actually coach a deal to the side.
Now, while you're doing this, Dinara, and I do mean take your time, I'm going to talk to a deal. You can ignore everything I'm saying to him because this is way more important. Do not rush it. Take all the time you need.
So you hear me coach a deal even while she's doing her trial.
We've put her in the oven. She's baking.
So I think it was like a metaphor of cooking a cake. Put a
What
cake
you
in the oven,
did
let it sit.
was we just caught the unconscious moments. Comes out in verbal ways. Now, I have no idea what new means to no idea. I have no idea what she's doing with it, but every time she mentioned it and you repeated it back, that's when the feeling started to come over. She got happy. How she connects that is totally up to her. And this is what this is. This is what we call, this is more of a day 2 thing. This is shaping trances. What we've done, is we found the problem, we've broken the problem, and we basically said to the unconscious mind, okay, the old way of thinking with whatever the career was in this career, that's broken. I'm now going to put you into trance, and I want you to bring in as many different positive resources. I want you to reconnect this so she can start enjoying the new career or whatever she wants to do with it. And what the trance allows people to do, guys, is think.
This is what I was saying
rejig
before.
things, reshape things, so the problem not only can't exist, but new resources and a new way of thinking starts to emerge.
And that's really what trance is, guys. And that's the way I view it, is a client gets caught in their thinking and their choices become minimal. Like they run out of choices. It could only be this way. Like, I'm a smoker and I can't quit, or I can't run a business because I don't know how. They get caught in that thinking. What trance does after we investigate the problem, it unsticks that thinking where any thinking is possible. We put them into trance and allows the unconscious mind to be really creative and just think of all different ways to find a solution to this thing, to create a new thing and to give our clients choice. Not conscious choice, unconscious choice, because it is unlimited at that point.
Does that make sense?
Can you rephrase that? It's still not connecting with me for some weird reason.
I'm going to rephrase it when we do after, and I'll break down the whole thing. We'll do that right at the end so everyone can hear as well.
Okay.
But I think, and I used to be like this as well. I used to talk too much.
That's what I was saying before.
And when we're too busy, I used to do this when I'd be looking at my client. My mentor used to pretty much slap me over the back of my head because he'd go, "What are you curious about?" And I'd go, And he'd slap me and go, "No, client's in front of you. Talk to them. Stop thinking for yourself. What are you curious about them?" When we're too busy thinking, we're trying to find the right question. And if you look back on the tape, this word "new" kept coming out and you repeated it, and that sent her in.
Now, also I mentioned as well, see how she's been in trance the whole time while I'm coaching a deal? And what I didn't talk about before, we're not depth testing. We're not doing suggestibility tests. I don't care how deep she goes, how light it is, how middle grounded. I don't care about any of those things because those things have no relevance to therapy and clients actually getting a result. Those things where they have to be a certain depth, there's no way to confirm those things. They're just theories that a lot of gurus teach that has no resemblance to truth. That's just a theory. It sounds good on paper. But when you stop caring about the traditional things like depth, eyes have to be closed, you've got to do therapy this way, it has to be this way, it can't be this way. When you let go of all those things and just be there for your clients, you realize how simple these trance and healing sessions can be. And you literally don't have to do much at all. Literally hardly anything, probably about a quarter, if less, than what the most things you're doing right now, where you'll get more done. So the big idea behind this is just to let go of all those traditional ways of doing things and see this is what it should be. This is how easy and natural and instinctive it can be. But when we're too busy thinking about what to do next, we miss all these golden opportunities.
It's better than any question that you could have ever thought of because it came from.
And she's still there.
She's still there.
As I said.
And this is the time for the therapist where you've got a lot of choices. You can play around with fun language like I did before. You can tell a story, which we'll do in day 2. You can tell metaphors.
So this is, if you are a storyteller, guys, you do want to tell stories, this is a great time to do it. But I always recommend is just to spend more time being quiet and let your client process things. So, in some cases I'll tell a story. Sometimes I'll give some metaphors. Sometimes I'll just be quiet. Sometimes I'll do like an arm levitation thing, whatever it is, any of those things. But the whole point is, as long as she's staying in trance, that's where she needs to be. All the other stuff is just added extras. And I just do them if I want to do them. But everyone thinks that when their client's in trance, I have to tell a story. I have to give them symbols. You don't have to do anything. And most times when you do it, you'll screw it all up because it's coming from you instead of figuring out what they need and getting it from them.
Or you can do what Erickson used to do and just shut up. He used to just sit in his wheelchair and just wait for people, not saying a word. Because we always run the risk that if we talk too much, it'll disturb them.
Okay.
So all we're really monitoring is she's safe, she's happy.
So she's fast forward just a bit. It's just while she's still in trance. A bit more coaching, pretty much what I've taught you guys just before. I'll get her to just before she comes out. You'll see what happens.
Some take a long time. There's a lot of processing.
So you see she's slowly starting to
come out. If she doesn't do this now, she'll need a second session. She'll need a third. Why not just pack all the sessions into one?
So my theory here, and the point what I'm bringing up to Adil and everybody as well, is let your clients stay in trance as long as they need to. Don't interrupt them. This is the difference between running a business based on sessions, where you're going to be limited by time, which means that they're not going to finish what they're doing, which sucks for them. And they'll need a second session, a third session, a fourth, where instead of just charging your clients per results, and if it takes them an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to do this, let them do it, because then they'll never have to come back to you. But again, that's just the different models that we run.
Makes sense?
Okay, so what you're saying is that we let her be, and then somehow, like, you know, the subconscious mind, because we've asked her these questions, these very few questions.
I bring it up as well. Unconscious, subconscious, superconscious. Don't worry about the labels, guys. It is all the same thing. As long as your client's in trance, doesn't matter what you call it.
Oh, it will just make sense to her, and then she can be delivered from whatever issue was.
And I like the way you said that. It'll make sense to her, and it will deliver to her. I will never, ever know what her problem was, and I don't care.
That's the true fact. You could never
know. If I did care, I'd try and fix her.
Okay.
You can always tell when
I know it looks very
out of trance as well, because their eyes will stop fluttering. You'll see the processing stop. That's when you know the trance is done. And Dinara came out of trance when it was finished, not because I forced her out.
Foreign, like we didn't even do much. And look at her. What's going on? How did that happen? When you watch the replay a few times, you'll see exactly what I saw. The breathing starting to shallow out, starting to sort of regulate itself. So this is a good time with those suggestions to, you know, come on out, let's go, you know, move it on a little bit, that type of thing.
So you can pretty much see when the trance is just about over or getting close to being over. That's when you can give instructions, hey, coming out when you're ready, starting to feel better now. You can sort of force a little bit, but you only want to do that when the processing stops. And the processing you'll see in the eyes a lot. The eyes flutter, there's a lot of movement. That's the processing. Once that stops and settles down, then you can start bringing them out.
Because she's more in a peaceful place. There's not as much processing in the eyes. It's more just a relaxed place. And it's not to say this isn't valuable, but the work's already done. She may as well come in.
Okay. I'm just gonna let you take over completely from now. So even when you want to take her out, I mean, please.
I'm going to take her out, and you're going to question it.
No. Okay.
Yes. Yes. There you go.
Okay.
That's it. Coming back to normal. There you go. Did a good job. Very good job.
So
what we do now is client comes out of trance. We want to figure out, okay, what did you learn? What happened? Explain it to me. And we're trying to find out what's the resource she found. What's the new solution or the new choice that she found? That's exactly what we're about to do.
What happened?
And that's how you know there was some pure unconscious stuff going on, because a lot of the times the client won't be able to explain it. Do not ever assume that just because the trance is done, that the problem is fixed. You have to ask your clients. Just because you get to the end of your script or your technique or whatever you're using doesn't mean the result's going to be resolved. It's impossible to think like that. So you've got to ask your client. We've got to find out. There's only 3 things that can happen in trance. It's going to be good. It's going to be normal. Like, it sort of feels better, but it's still there, or it's going to be worse. So they're the 3 things we've got to find out. We've got to find out, where did she land? What was the new resource? What happened?
And that's the response I'm asking.
No idea. Normally, because obviously I've done a lot of RTT myself. Normally, you know exactly, like, I'd be able to explain, but now all I'm
And this is a good instinct to have as well, and a clear contrast. If a client can explain to you what happened, that means they've changed consciously and the problem's still there. If your client can't quite explain what's going on, it's like, oh, no idea. That's because it's unconscious change, and that's where change has to happen. So if your client is very, very descriptive about what's happened and telling you exactly what they're going to do, and they can voice it really clearly, more than likely it hasn't worked, and your client will need a second session, third and fourth. So these are the things we're looking for as well.
There was something in my head. It was new but different. New.
And that's the resource she found. It's new but different. Now, I have no idea what that'll mean to her, but it looks like she's in a good place. And we don't have to know. New but different. Like, it seems so simple, but it means the world to her unconsciously. Watch what happens.
It was new but different. Once again, new but different.
Now, I just want to point out what's happened there. That's the metaphor for the rest of her life right there. You were asking me, how is she going to know what the result was? That's the result right there. New but different. Now, what does that mean to me? Wouldn't have a clue. Does that mean anything to you? No. But that'll change your life. See how simple that is?
Okay.
And there is no way in the world you could have ever come up with that.
So you know what I was doing, right? So like right now when she said new and different, I tried to connect the word new to how she used it earlier. Is that necessary or not?
We'll do some testing in a minute.
Okay.
But I just want to point out how simple that resource is and how powerful it is. New, but it's different.
And see how she's still thinking about it.
She was so caught in this spider web of knots, but now it's just new but different. That'll change your life.
And would it be correct for me to ask her, how do you feel now?
We will. We would have to do some. We can do some demarcating. You know what? Let's do it while we're here. So what I want you to do is, I want you to start off. We'll do a bit of testing.
So we're going to get into something called testing. And the whole idea behind testing is this, and nobody does this. And again, I guarantee it's why your clients need more than one session. What testing means is essentially you want to break the session. I want to doubt the resource that she found. I want to doubt that thing's going to be good enough to solve the problem. And I'm going to imply doubt. And we actually do this, and we actually catch her where the resource she found still wasn't good enough. You'll actually see this. And I could not have planned this, but you obviously can't plan this, but this is exactly why we test. Because if we were to let Dinara go home with this thing, this extra, it's all good, but as you'll hear very soon, she says something like that, that would have been the thing to unravel all the change she made, and she'd be back to square one with her problem. So let's play that, and we'll see what this sounds like.
And just ask Dinara, how does she feel about the problem? Wait for a response, and I'll tell you what to ask next. So just least amount of words.
Dinara, how do you feel about your problem now?
So we're taking the resource, old but new, and I'm asking her, how do you feel about the problem now? I'm linking it back to the initial problem and seeing what happens. Is it strong? Is it weak? Is it good? Is it bad? Just getting her to reconnect everything.
Don't know.
That's a good answer.
Honestly, I don't really know.
So now I want you to ask her, how do you know it's gone?
So do some testing.
How do you know it's gone?
I don't know. Sorry for being difficult, but I don't really know.
How dare you?
I'll give you an example of the next testing question. So what we're trying to do here, guys, is I'm going to purposely try and break this new resource she's come up with. Because if it breaks in front of me, a deal can fix it. If it breaks when she goes home and the problem comes back,
I'm trying to
now going to get a phone call
resource.
saying it hasn't worked, I want my money back. So I'm going to purposely try and break her and the new resource.
Watch what happens. Example.
So when you think about the problem, how does it feel now? because you've had that problem for a while. Yeah, it can't be gone. I mean, we only sat here for like 20 minutes and had a chat.
So I'm
Still got to be there.
trying to make a thing that it didn't work. I want to do that.
So what I think it's the way is different is because this time I have chosen my career. I haven't just fell into it.
So
yeah, why
there's
not?
a resource. It's good.
Tick the box. Get in it. Oh,
But there is
I
a
got
but
in.
coming up.
Yay. Whatever.
Can't be that easy though. I mean, it's only a choice.
Doubting it again.
I've been told I've got a lot of perseverance
Right.
Another resource.
when I want something.
It's good.
Right. I don't know. I just sort of have, it might be just me. I might be looking into it too much. I have a little bit of doubt. I reckon the problem's still there, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
So listen to what I've said there. I basically said to a client, I don't think it's worked. And this is testing. Because if I don't doubt her when she goes out into the world and she experiences any doubt for anybody else, the problem will come back. I'm trying to add resilience. So what I'm essentially asking Dinara to do is convince me that the problem's gone. And the more I doubt her, the more she has to convince me. The more I doubt her, the more she'll convince me. And the testing questions get harder and harder and harder because I'm looking for any loose ends. And there is a loose end that comes up very quickly. And what we have to do when we find that loose end, I'm going to put her back into trance, tell her to fix it properly. Then she comes back out again. And now that loose end has been connected as well. So she's starting to get a bit of doubt, like maybe it is still there. Maybe the problem
I don't know. I don't know if it's still there. Kind of.
I reckon it is. I think it's still there.
pushing harder.
Maybe.
That's what I'm looking for.
That's what we need to fix.
That maybe would cause the problem to come back. And it's not that it's not that we did anything wrong during the trance. It's just the trance itself didn't quite connect everything. And the unconscious mind will do that. If there's any slight doubt, like a client says, oh my God, my life has changed. However, and there's that slight doubt, even if it's small, you have to catch it. And don't get them in for a second session. Fix it now because it'll be extremely quick. We could look at Dinara as being a percentage. She's 95% of the way healed. It's that last 5% that if left untouched or unhealed, it will cause that other 95% to all be unhealed as well. In a couple of days, the problem will come back. That I can guarantee. So I'm going to show you how we fix it.
That slight hesitation. And the reason I'm doing this on purpose, and hopefully, Dinara, you realize that, because if this doesn't break now, when she goes home and someone mentions something to her in passing and it breaks, the problem comes back. It's now my fault. And this is the reason why clients need so many sessions, because we don't test them enough. I'm purposely
So when you say
trying to
break, what does that mean? What does that
trying
mean
to-
when you're trying to...
I'm trying to purposely destroy all the work I just did. I want her to fail.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll show you how we fix it. It's just that last bit of thread. It's like me saying to a smoker, I reckon you'll smoke. Yeah, have a cigarette. Just put it in your mouth. It's fine. Just have a last puff. And I'm wanting them to say, fuck off, Scott. No, I'm not going to fucking smoke. No.
Sorry for the language.
Instead of, or maybe I'm going to catch them
That's
right
such a good
there.
point.
Makes sense? That's
Again, I want to reiterate how important testing is. If there's anything you took away from this video, it's the importance of testing. If you do not test, and there's a slight 0.5% that the client thinks that they might smoke at this occasion or this type of emotion happens, they'll do it once, they'll do it twice, they'll do it 3 times, all of a sudden they're back to being a full-time smoker again. And that exists in every single problem. And my theory is, why bother having a second session? Fix it now, because they're already there anyway. Just like tying up that last little loose end, because then the problem will be gone completely. And that's what we do here.
why clients need so many sessions. And I'm going to fix this up. It's just the last loose thread. Watch how quickly she'll probably go into trance. She's actually started to go back into it already. So the unconscious mind went, fuck, I missed a bit. I'm going to pull it back in.
So the very fact of finding that loose end is actually causing trance to happen again. And as I mentioned there as a metaphor, it's like the unconscious mind says, I forgot that last little bit. Let me pull it back in because I've got to fix that part too. The unconscious mind is very perceptive that way. It just must have missed a little bit, which is fine. So the unconscious mind needs to fix it. So watch what happens.
Okay. So there it is.
And there it is. Different type of trance. Spontaneous laughter.
You don't have to do anything.
Last loose end.
Thought this was a serious problem. What are you laughing for?
I'm drawing attention to it.
I'm laughing from the fact to facts. He said, fuck, I missed a bit. Probably, yeah.
Yeah. There's a problem still there, right? Has to be.
Maybe I did miss something, yeah.
There we go.
You rushed it, didn't you?
And there's me putting it
I
slowly
did,
back
yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Watch
I
your
was
eyes.
trying to do something, I think.
Sure.
Watch the eyes.
Yeah. I think in the beginning, I was like almost there, but I probably needed
Almost
to close
there.
So I'm
Yeah.
repeating it.
Almost there.
I needed to close my eyes a bit early. I kind of missed something.
I know. You missed something and you were almost there.
Just repeating it back.
Getting closer. Closer again. There you go.
So when I'm saying you're getting closer again, it's because I can see the eyes fluttering. I can see the trance happening. And again, it's called a process instruction. I'm basically just enticing that process, enticing that unconscious moment. And it's slowly drawing her back in. Her eyes will close and bang, she goes into a really deep trance and fixes that last bit.
You missed a bit.
There it is. Getting
You're
closer.
too busy rushing. There you
There she
go.
is. Back to where she was.
And this time, I want you to do such a thorough job. You know without a shadow of a doubt, there is no stone left unturned, no knot that hasn't been loosened. So all the new difference makes total sense.
So my suggestions right now are basically just saying, fix it and do not come out until you fix it all. That's essentially that's what the suggestion. I'm not telling her how to fix it. I'm not telling her what to fix. I'm just saying fix it. It being the problem. Get that last little bit.
And I want you to slow it down. Do not rush this.
And again, I don't need all these words, but I just do it because of the training. I could have just sat there with her and quiet.
Look in every last little place. There you go.
So I can see she's slowly starting to smile. So I want to get at that.
There you go.
They're doing a good job. That feels good. Whatever you want to say.
And again, I'm going to talk to Adil. You keep doing what you're doing. Don't rush it. Get every last piece.
Had I not got this, it would have caused
All we
a
did there was
third,
just
fourth,
put a-
fifth session.
Technique aside, it's called a revivification. I've just basically had her think about how she went into trance just before, and I said, hey, do that again.
So that's that
The very
reviv.
nature of thinking about the trance she was in before pulls her straight back in.
Very good technique. Revivification.
Okay. That's called revivification.
Revivification. It's an old Ericksonian trick. Clients used to come into Erickson's office and he'd say, have you been in trance before? And they'd
So
say,
that's just me coaching
Yeah.
and Bill. Stuff I've just taught you guys just then. So I'll sort of fast forward a little bit. See the difference in
this
trance.
level, you can take this without having to go the traditional same way of doing everything.
So she's processing still, breathing. I'll get her back to before she wakes up.
Person in front of us who said, I don't even know what you did. Okay, so it just shows you the next level if you can take this without having to go the traditional same way
So when Dinara comes out, I'm going to test again because I want to test. Did you get that last little bit? Was there anything else I missed? That's what we're about to do.
of doing everything.
Watch what happens.
I'm going to try to fix the camera because the focus is off.
Go for it. There you go, Tanara. Good job. That's better. How you doing?
Good.
So what's
Feel better
interesting
now?
here, the second time she comes out of trance, and this is how I know that the problem's been solved. She comes out of trance and instantly it's over. Whereas she came out of trance before, she was still glazed out for quite a while. It's because the processing was still going on. But this time, it's like the unconscious mind said, yes, everything's done, everything's good. Close the unconscious mind off, consciousness come back, and she's back to being normal conscious now. That's how, again, these are the clues I'm looking for to know that she got that last little bit. But again, I'm going to test her and find out what happens.
Yeah. Definitely.
The difference?
What was that last little bit?
It just had like a few bits come up, literally almost flew through my mind, kind of. Oh, but you love talking, so like you love conversation in general, like which I do. I was like, oh, fucking bingo! I'm sorry for swearing. Like bingo, and then.
Do you see what she came up with? Swearing aside, as funny as it is, see what she came up with? She came up with that. I don't know what she's talking about. I didn't suggest that. Did I tell her to have images run past your mind? Did I tell you to use the word like fucking bingo? Did I tell her to do any? Was there any suggestions at all? No. Because if there was, that's me forcing her to change the way that I think she should change. And how on earth would I know that? Why would I limit her to what I think she should do? Why don't I just let Dinara do what she's going to do? And look what happened. All this incredible unconscious stuff happened, and it's creating a hell of a lot of meaning for her.
Another bit came like, I quite like being in front of the camera as well. So
how are you feeling about the new career now? Being new and different, of course.
It's me testing again.
I think it's going to be different.
And there we have it. That's it. That is the therapy. That is the pure unconscious resource. Now, what the hell does that mean? It's even better than the resource she found before. Remember I said there's 3 ways to go come out of trance: good, neutral, or bad. The first time she came out, it was neutral. That's why she couldn't quite explain what was going on. She wasn't too concerned about it. It was like she wasn't quite happy with it. That's how I knew it wasn't finished. But this time, it's like it's going to be different. And she's excited about this. That's a positive resource. If she came out of trance negatively and you think, wow, I think business is going to be harder, or this is going to be worse, I feel worse, that just means she found the wrong resources. And I do the same thing, put her back into trance and tell her to do something better with it. And then hopefully she'll come out of trance in a more positive place. But let's keep watching.
Is that a better place to be?
Yeah.
Than where she was? See how simple and small it is to you and me, but I can see it in her face. Yeah. So let's say you go through this career, you know, a bit of flashy, shiny objects, whatever it is, and it gets a little bit tedious and boring after a while. What happens then?
So I'm throwing an example to Dinara to say, like, okay, if you go through business, what happens if you have a bad day? What happens if business is not as good as you like, as good as it is, or as good as you think it will be at the start, but it gets better later? What happens if you lose a client? What happens if you have money one day, money not the next day? I'm adding resilience to the change because I'm looking for that'll be fine, but I'm trying to find, is there any loose ends, anything else possible, no matter how small? Is there anything that we've left out?
Same thing each day, same sort of clients.
She's like, I don't care, I'm going to do it.
I can always change it up.
Resource?
Another resource. But where was she before the old career? I'm stuck.
Like
So she wasn't stuck.
Yeah.
You did that. Good job.
Right now she came up with her own solution. Yeah.
And you didn't have to do anything. You
Yeah.
did it all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
You have a watch on Dinara?
No.
Okay, so I asked her what's called a demarcation question because I want to clearly demarcate it out of trance to normal consciousness. And the reason I want to do this is because if there is any more processing that needs to happen, I don't want her consciously interfering with it. So the demarcation is mandatory with your clients. You do not want your clients leaving your office still a little bit in trance, because all it takes is for them to think the wrong thing at the wrong time, and now that'll influence all the work you did, and they might think, okay, well, I sat with Scott for only half an hour. I feel like a non-smoker, but half an hour, could that really help me quit smoking? And all of a sudden, those negative thoughts attract more negativity, and 2 hours later, I'm getting a phone call saying it didn't work. So you want to demarcate your clients and ask them a conscious question like, do you have a watch on? And you'll see your client go, oh, hang on, yes, I do. Go, okay, what's the time? They'll tell you the time. Or, what are you doing for the rest of the day? Or did you hear the dogs barking all through that? Apologize if you did. Just give them a clear, conscious question or statement to snap them out, to clearly demarcate the mind from trance to consciousness. Let the unconscious mind keep doing what it's doing. You have to demarcate.
No.
I was just curious to see what time zone was for you.
That's all this
What
is.
a demarcation.
2:15.
Okay. All right, guys. So well done.
And that's it. So you can see clearly that was a full therapeutic intervention and we got the exact result we're after. Okay, and I won't show it here, but further on during the training course, about half an hour later, like I mentioned before, I ask her again and she pops out with another resource even better. Because what happens with our clients, there's a lag in time of complete processing. So the fact she got a good resource now, 20 minutes later, half an hour later, she gets a better one. And then the following day, this was the second session of day one. When we went into day 2 of the training the following day, I asked Dinara when we first started the sessions, I said, how do you feel now that you've had 8 hours of sleep? And she went on to tell us about all these other incredible things that she's going to do with her business, all these other resources starting to take shape because she slept, the processing took place, it was a couple of hours extra, it allowed the mind to settle in and connect everything, and she was connecting resources for the next day entirely. She was getting more and more excited. That's the complete change we're after. But what's important to note about this session is what I mean about you have to find that hesitation. You have to find those buts or what if. Once they come out of trance, you've got to find those loose ends. If you don't get those loose ends, you're going to have to see a client second time, third time, fourth, and you'll probably miss it because they're not in the same place. And if you keep missing it, eventually the problem's going to come back. It's never going to be healed. So if you catch that but or the what if during the testing phase, fix it then, because as you saw, it was very, very quick. It was only about another 10 minutes, but that saved me multiple sessions later on. All right. So guys, that's another example of the trance, the full conversational hypnotherapy intervention. Same place we start by investigating the problem, the trance, the shaping of the trance, the testing, the demarcation, and all the little bits and pieces in between. But very simple, very instinctual, just with a couple of questions. And Dinara came out with an incredible result. So that's it for this video, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.